of the things I love about your perspective is it's so big, and it includes all sports, all countries, and history. So I think it's a good lead into just asking you what your thoughts are here on Dirk's legacy as he goes into the Hall of Fame 25 years after arriving here in North Texas.
Well, maybe I'm biased because I did his games for 14 years and I was here for all 21 years of his career. But he is the greatest international player who has ever played. And to me, you can't call Olajuwon a true international because he played college basketball in the States when college basketball was actually good and really honed his game there. And Tim Duncan, he's from the U.S. Virgin Islands. Does that count as an international? No, because he actually even played internationally, for the United States. Drazen Petrovic may be the only player, who could have been, but he died way too early in his career. He's the greatest international player. He's a revolutionary player. He completely changed the thought process of the power forward position and what NBA teams wanted from that position. And it was an honor and privilege to watch this evolve in front of my eyes and to be able to describe it. And even going far beyond that, he's just singularly the most unaffected superstar player that I've ever encountered in all the years that I've been in this business. Yeah. He's just a sweet, nice person, and the antithesis to Leo DeRocher that nice guys do finish first.
Yeah, unshakable character indeed. And I was listening to Reggie and KG last night on my way home, our evening show. They brought up the fact that over a 3-year period, he led the league in that analytic win shares. Mm-hmm. Was he the best player in the NBA for a sustained period of time in your perspective?
I think probably from 2006 through 2009, he probably was the best player. I mean, remember the 2009 playoff series with Denver. Remember, all hell was breaking loose around him. With the fake girlfriend and all that stuff, and yet he goes out and scores 44 points. In a game that they had no business winning, and just being so singularly focused that even as his personal world is just crushing him and crashing around him, that he was able to continue to do what he does. I don't know that anybody else. I mean, I know, Jordan had incredible, mental toughness, and Kobe had incredible mental toughness. But I don't know that anybody, experience, maybe Kobe in his experience with Colorado, he had to go through something like that too. But, in Dirk's case, that he could do what he did, as many defining moments as he had in his career. I mean, to me, that was one of them. It just spoke to his just incredible character and obviously his incredible basketball skill.
Coop, you know the history of the DFW sports scene as well as anybody. We were talking yesterday, and I made the point, in a Cowboys city, I think Dirk has become the most beloved athlete in the history of Dallas-Fort Worth. What are your thoughts on that?
I tend to agree with that, and maybe it's recency bias because I wasn't here when Staubach played, and obviously Roger won 2 Super Bowls, and he then stayed in town and has been a huge philanthropic figure in town, and obviously has built an extraordinarily successful business for himself. But again, I think the fact that Dirk came from overseas and he came to Dallas and we embraced him in Dallas, and ultimately, he embraced us, but he gave us something that we haven't had a lot of in this town in the last nearly 30 years. He gave us the one thing we all want. And that, I think, will always endear him to the Dallas fandom, Dallas-Fort Worth fandom, more so than anybody else. I mean, I do think it's him and Roger. And, with all due respect to everybody else, they're lining up behind those two.
Coop, why do you think there was such a willingness with him to always give back to the organization or to give back to, and I'm not talking to the fans, but his willingness to almost like do Tom Brady like things when it came to contracts and things?
I mean, he wanted to win. I mean, clearly he's a mature enough person to know that whatever he can do to help his organization, that he was going to do that. I think that but more importantly, he's just generally a very, very nice person. And,
right.
It's not like he grew up rich, and it's not like he ever felt the need to be rich, although I think he certainly enjoys the trappings of everything that he's earned in his career. But I just think that he looks at himself as a normal person. He doesn't look at himself as a superstar. I always tell the story. My favorite Dirk story of all was my first year with the team was 2005, 2006, and we played a game in Los Angeles against the Clippers, and we're playing the next night at Golden State. And so we fly to San Francisco, get to the hotel, and normally, the guys go to the rooms, and the equipment truck comes out, and the trainers and the equipment people and the iguanas like me, help unload the truck. And as I'm unloading the truck, I turn around, and who's standing there? It's Dirk at 2:00 in the morning after just hitting a game-winning shot to beat the Clippers. He's there slinging bags, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, LeBron's really doing this, and yeah, really, Kobe's doing this. I said, no, they're not doing that. He's doing that. He was a regular guy.
It's Chuck Cooperstein here with you, sharing some great memories of Dirk Nowitzki's career on and off the court. Was that Denver game your favorite game, or what you would call Dirk's best game, or are there others maybe, or another one that sticks out?
Well, Game 6 obviously stands out. I mean, just because the Mavericks won and his reaction to winning and jumping over the table, and just, even watching him before he jumped over the table, and you could see the tears were welling up in his eyes. That's unforgettable. I mean, what happened earlier in the series in the 20-2 run in Game 2 that got them back in the series. We scored 29 points in the fourth quarter in a game in 2008, I believe it was November of 2008 against Utah. You had 11 points through three quarters, 29 in the fourth. Any number of game-winning shots. Obviously the shot for 30,000 was unforgettable, and just I was just really happy that in my mind I did that call justice because it's such an enormous moment. And then when he passed Wilt, and maybe that's more personal for me because to me Wilt is the standard. And I highly recommend those who have not already seen it. You need to watch Goliath, the 3-part Wilt doc that just ran on Showtime. It is absolutely awesome, and just to explain so much about him. But I mean, 31,419 points to me was always, it did seem unbreakable, even though others did that. But the fact that then this guy did it, and how he did it, there was just such drama attached to all of it that it was really cool. There's Gavin, I could probably sit here with you for another 40 minutes and try to come up with stuff. And it would still be lacking. Okay, there would still be others that we missed.
Yeah, that OKC series, I think that the Western Finals might be a little bit overlooked there in 11 for how he put the team on his back, maybe even more so than against Miami.
Well, he actually didn't shoot the ball well in the Miami series. Only shot 39% in the series. In Oklahoma City, they had started with the whole, Ibaka was a Dirk stopper, that type of thing. And then in Game 1 of that series, Dirk puts out, okay, how did I not mention that game? Because that probably is the ultimate Dirk game. 48 points on 15 shots, 12 of 15 from the floor. NBA record 24-24 from the line. He did not even attempt a three-pointer in the game, let alone make a three-pointer. Wow. Nobody has scored so many points taking so few field goal attempts.
Wow.
And he needed to be good that night because Kevin Durant had 40.
Yeah.
And the Mavericks only won that game by 9. And the game wasn't, it wasn't a rout that, it was kind of a backdoor 9-point game. I mean, the game was relatively close all the way, and Dirk had to be that good.
Unbelievable. If they're to take it back to this year's Mavs, and Luka got to see a little bit of that with Dirk and the retirement, but if there was something of Dirk's game or his personality or his work ethic that could rub off onto Luka, if you had to pick something, what would that be?
I do think Dirk's overall work ethic was just absurd. I mean, and I don't know that you need to be as unusual in his approach as he was, through Holger. But I do think that just what we've seen of Luka this summer, it does appear as if, kind of like Dirk at the same age, 25 years old or about to be 25 years old, that Luka has sort of figured things out about his body and how to get his body in the best shape, now, and then to be able to sustain it through the course of a long season. And I think if not that you have to do it like Dirk, but as long as you understand, like Dirk, that you needed to be in the best possible shape all the time. Especially when your team needs you the way that the Mavericks needed Dirk, and this team, definitely needs Luka to be Luka. If he can do that, then I think that's probably a pretty good thing to take advantage of.
Chuck, for my final question for you for the day, and again, we've talked about you're just a huge sports fan, but with this conference realignment, I'm going to give you I don't know if I can give you a minute or two.
Take the podium, sir.
Just talk about your thoughts about the direction of college athletics.
Well, I mean, look, I'm a fan of best on best. And I think I would like this a whole lot more if I knew that the conference teams, that they were going to be playing 9 or 10 games within their conference. If we're still having body bag games here, 2 years from now, then we got a real problem here. We got a real problem, and the biggest problem of all is that, and I did see this the other day, and I hadn't thought of it this way, but Stuart Mandel wrote a piece in The Athletic the other day, and what he wrote was what has made the NFL what it is, and what every sport seems to want to do is to try to expand its base and not necessarily just cater to its base, because they figure that base is always going to be there. And what he was saying, that what they're looking for is not Chuck Cooperstein and Jeffrey and Brian Broaddus and Bennett showing up at a Florida LSU game. They're not interested in that. What they're interested in is the New York Giant fan in New York, an NFL fan that they can get the largest possible look in, so that if you're playing enough Ohio State USC games, or Texas Florida games. Texas and Florida have never played in college football, but they will next year for the first time. That's what ultimately will carry the day, which goes way counter to what college sports has been about for the last 100 years. So we're about to see something, either a really big success or a crash of colossal proportions.
Well said, Chuck. My final question, are we going to see a new player for the Mavs before training camp, or is this roster about set?
I have a feeling it's about set. I mean, look, I've read what you've read. I mean, I have no inside information, but it doesn't seem like the issue of trying to get, Clint Capella through a Pascal Siakam deal, that doesn't seem like it's on the board right now. But go back to last summer, and the Donovan Mitchell trade went down the first week in September.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's entirely possible. I'm not holding my breath waiting for it, but I do think that I think Rashawn Holmes is going to surprise people. I really do. Now, not that he's an all-star or anything like that, but mean, he was a very productive player a couple of years ago before the coaching change and some pretty significant personal issues that he had to deal with sent him, back to the end of the line. And I think overall for this team, given how they finished last year, it was pretty embarrassing how it all went down at the end of the year, just losing games and then the last week of the season and whatever. I think that there are a lot of people who are angry. And I think there are people who feel like they've got something to prove. And if that's the case, then I have a feeling this team might be a little bit better than what a lot of people seem to think that they might be.
I like the sound of that, Chuck. Thank you so much for your time, and enjoy this amazing weekend we have on tap.
I will. Thanks, guys. Take care.